Great. Let me just. Hey, how are y'all?
Hi,
Hello.
thank
Good
you for
talking to you
talking
today.
with us.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on the new season.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I, mean,
Um,
I was like, oh, well, this is the name change.
yeah, I'm on my husband's computer, which actually works better. So I want to change my name up here. But so as you two were preparing for this new season, what were your priorities?
This season is, with each season, being on HBO is such a privilege, and
Yeah.
the ability to tell our stories authentically, and not to mention be led by queer people, has been very, very important you know, as we write our history in real time. That has really been what the show has always been about, and meeting that moment. And I think what we're here is physically, yes, we bring this season four celebrity drag queens to small communities, and put on a one what used to be a one night only drag show. This season, based on the shift in the political climate, the anti-drag, anti-trans bills and policies and ordinances that are popping up across this country, is was really unnerving, and a lot of folks were like, wow, can you even continue to make this show? In order to continue to make the show, I think we needed to meet the moment. And I think that was really about um sort of re-looking at, that not only what it means to be a celebrity drag queen, but the stories and the people that are on the ground, and how this rhetoric affects people directly, but how it also is affecting everyone across this country as we see this, um, these bills sort of are recreated in other states across the country. So that was challenging, but I think, like, we like to think of our format as a drag queen itself, and could evolve and shape shift to meet the moment.
Gotcha. Okay. Can you talk about the new queens this season?
The new queens are wonderful. And that what we did was, we chose four people. We had three incredibly wonderful hosts for the first three seasons, and we were able to tell their personal stories in depth. And, they were able to connect so beautifully with, the drag kids over the first three seasons.
Yeah.
But what we realized is that we needed to expand the family this season to be able to meet the moment, because we are at a cultural tipping point, a moral tipping point, a political tipping point, and we need to bring more voices into the mix in order to be able to really get across to our viewers, and hopefully the world will see this season in a big, broad audience. We needed to find voices that could address the moment. So by expanding the family, we looked for people, the same, qualities that we looked for in our original queens. We wanted empathy, intelligence, authenticity. We have it, tremendously with our new queens, and humor and art. And that, we put all of this together, and the four of them, I think, each individual is wonderful, but the four of them and how they interact is extraordinary. And that's I think, part of the secret of the show this season is, as the show progresses, as you get through each of these episodes, I think you get to be closer and closer, and you feel more connected with all of our queens. That, I hope that's conveyed.
And I mean, what's really interesting to see, in particular last season, you saw Eureka, who's directly affected by um a drag kid that she met. This is about human connection, and we thought too how unique it is that not only is our celebrity drag cast, coming in to these spaces and to bring joy, but they're also directly affected by, these conversations, and this. What's particularly interesting is to see how our queens also are becoming the stories in and of itself, and how they are directly impacted by this format. So I think that was really important to us to show, and to get up close and personal to more drag queens, as this movement in this misinformation is spreading. We really want people to meet and see up close these human beings that are also artists, amazing artists, and to show there's really nothing to fear.
Exactly. This was referenced a little bit earlier, but can you sort of talk about, or, obviously, in previous seasons, there's been a new city every episode. Now you're focused really is on Tennessee and Oklahoma. So can you sort of talk about that decision?
But both
Yes,
Tennessee and
or go ahead.
Oklahoma are the centers of what's going on. They're emblematic of what's going on in the rest of the country. They're sort of like bellwethers, and that Tennessee, where we went to in Murfreesboro, we originally, were attracted to this place to tell the story because Pride was canceled, and an ordinance was passed that, in theory, could ban someone being gay in public. It's this incredibly overbroad ban that's unconstitutional, but that was going through the courts. And that Oklahoma is almost the reddest of the red states.
Yeah.
Yet there are wonderful places within there, Tulsa, there's some incredible, the Arts District, Greenwood. I mean, there's incredible places in Tulsa. I loved it there. But there's also, Bartlesville, which is a place that for the first time in our history wouldn't let us film in one inside store, one restaurant, nowhere. No one would let us film. So we chose these two places because they are truly emblematic of what's going on in the country, and they allowed us to be able to tell stories that we were hoping would connect with our audience this season, to say,
And I'm from
happening.
Yeah, and I'm from Tennessee, so I lived and grew up in Eastern Tennessee, not near Murfreesboro, but it's not very dissimilar to what it was like growing up there. But to see it, the progress kind of start to regress was very concerning, and in particular hit literally close to home. And as my family still lives there, and these conversations that people are having, in particular in these Department of Educations and the city council meetings, is it's full of loud, extreme voices, and it's been very difficult for a lot of folks that don't understand not only how their local government works, but even those they're outnumbered or feeling outnumbered without the support of their community. And so it's important for us to highlight those headlines and those directly affected by these policies and ordinances, and and how can we come in, swoop in, and show them how to push through, and hopefully give them a little bit of an uplift and bring the entire community together, the L's, the B's, the G's, the T's, the Q's, for multiple drag shows, and so they can look at each other and see that they are in fact love that will conquer hate in the end.
Okay. There's a comment that I picked up on real quickly. This is 4 seasons later, it's harder to be out and proud. Can you talk about filming this season with so much anti-LGBTQ legislature, and specifically so much anti-drag sentiment, which is so sad? Can you sort of talk about that environment?
It was absolutely terrifying. I mean, there were moments. I mean, we were always there on the ground. We were in that city council meeting. We were in the protest that happened in Bartlesville. We were there. You can see Stephen in the security briefing, in particular, in Bartlesville. But it was very scary. I mean, maybe I consider myself a little non-confrontational, but when you get into these moments, I really felt my emotions coming to a head, and I in Bartlesville I was crying, because I was really nervous and scared, just just the sheer fact that people are carrying these signs, that are just full of hate, and to really physically be there. We've seen it on TV, or you've seen other headlines, or maybe a photograph in a newspaper, but even to really truly experience it is scary, and it's sad. And to pick up your pieces and push yourself through was really uh, uh, giving our cast the credit that they've experiencing this time and time again, and not to mention drag performers across the country are experiencing this type of protests and anti-drag rhetoric every day. For me, just experiencing that in this moment was really, really scary. But in the end, I think after you push past your emotions and really learn, a lot of these folks that are spreading this misinformation and this hate are very small. They're loud, and they're getting a lot of attention right now. But I think if we stand up to them, together, we can get through this.
Gotcha.
I
So
think it's just plain scary walking into a city council meeting where it starts with a mayor invoking a Christian, prayer that I thought there was separation of church and state, and that going into, a city council meeting that is so explicitly a Christian based, meeting was terrifying to me. There are so many things that we experience that you don't experience, when you're living in Los Angeles, New York, or other big cities, that you do experience. That is a fact, that how queer people have to live, within a lot of this country.
yeah. So I know that you came to SCAD TV Fest earlier this year. What was that experience like in Atlanta?
Loved it.
Oh my
Loved
gosh, we had
it.
so much fun. I mean, Georgia, as we all know, is the center is going to be a very important piece to this puzzle come November. And I think, in particular, it was just so great to show our presence in Georgia. I mean, I grew up. Atlanta was one of the places I would always go as a kid to escape, some of the challenges it was to be queer in East Tennessee.
Sure.
And I think, it's Atlanta is a wonderful community of queer folks that that are thriving. And I think it's important, also to have spaces and places for the surrounding areas so people can come and celebrate. So we had SCAD was a blast. We literally had so much fun.
Students were great, the audiences were great, Atlanta was wonderful. We had a great time.
Yeah, when the conversations we were having were very important. I do think that the surrounding areas in Georgia, and in particular, I think you could see a lot of kids and students that really needed to see the show and to
And the
meet.
food was delicious.
Exactly. So final question. Can both of you just talk about the appeal of the show and how this has just grown? I mean, obviously, season after season, how it's just grown in appeal and just become more mainstream and reach more people.
Well, I think the show at its core is all about love, and it's all about connection, and that it's our hope that our core audience that has watched the show over these years, will spread the gospel. We'll talk about how it personally affects them, and that this season in particular, we're hoping reaches the broadest audience possible, because it's, number one, a spectacle. It's beautiful to watch these huge drag shows, and the small drag shows, from the street to the little bars to the big drag shows. I think the appeal is universal this season, and the urgency of people watching the show is more important than ever. I mean, we've got to get the message out there that we're all the same. We're all people. We all have the same needs and desires and fears, and that's what the show is.
Okay.
The show is never meant. I mean, to say mainstream, that is our goal. Is we really want to invite people to the table. We want people to watch. And it's not just for the LGBT community. We've lived these stories. We live these stories, every day. We really want to bring folks that are curious, or that may want to understand what it means to be LGBTQ, or also that may just want to be entertained and want to have, to want to feel all the feels, because it really truly is a show about human beings existing in a world where it's complicated and where we have stopped having a dialogue. And how can we begin again to have conversations like we used to? I mean, it really was a celebration of the things we had in common. And now we're so focused on our differences. And that's really what the show is about, is bringing people together and celebrating our differences and having a lot of fun doing it.
Great. Thanks so much for talking to me. I'm enjoying this.
Thank you.
And congratulations on the new season.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.